Sedaghatfar, attorney and of counsel to the Cochran firm. Maz Jobrani. Is she freaking kidding me? There's a murderer on the loose for the last 10 years since this case was adjudicated, and we got to go get him? It's like, sounds like O.J. Simpson. I'm going to find the murderer of my wife. And Anahita, what percentage of criminals you have defended said they were not guilty? What percentage?
I would say most of them.
No,
I would say most of them, Dr.
What percentage?
Most of them.
What percentage?
100%.
Thank you. Thank you. That is
the jails are full of people who are innocent.
As a defense lawyer, though, you have to remember your job is to present whatever defense, whatever facts or evidence you can bring that would possibly give rise to reasonable doubt.
Yes.
So I understand why his attorneys wanted to blame the brothers. You have to do that. But the interesting thing is the judge in this case did not allow that in his evidence.
Well, no, the brother thing is a new revelation.
No, it was part of court documents filed by his prior attorneys.
Originally.
And the original, right. And the judge held that that evidence is excluded. The attorneys could not make that argument, which is perplexing because we do that all the time in criminal trials.
All right, let's talk about other evidence not presented in the document, because people are angry with me for suggesting that he is guilty.
I'm with you.
I'm one of those
with
people
you.
that are angry at you, Dr.
Good. That's why I have.
I got your back.
Oh, thank you. That's why I have you here.
But it doesn't look like they did.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but Dr. Drew, the prosecution should hire you for their PR that you're doing for them because, yeah, the fact is there was certain evidence and facts that were left out from the documentary, but if you look at the defense attorney's explanation, he explains away a lot of that purported evidence.
Tell me.
That links him away, like in terms of the DNA, the sweat DNA that supposedly was found under the hood of the car.
Well,
the defense attorney says that was never there. So there are various things that were explained
But what about
away,
the ballistics?
Let me just finish this. I do agree, though, that we should not be making judicial determinations based on a documentary. It is a film. It is a film.
It's a documentary.
It's on
television.
Right.
Documentary.
Why let the facts get in the way of a good movie?
I want to be a part of it. So
well, they're part of it now. They're all over the media complaining that this was biased, that the filmmakers didn't put in the prosecution perspective, it was filling the defense narrative. So really, it doesn't make sense to me. I think that they should have probably participated because now it's after the fact.
And they do a good job of showing that the process.
Brought in a special prosecutor to prosecute this case, and it seems to me they colluded with the original prosecutors in the case. If you look at the searches that were done in his home, they were advised, the initial prosecution team was advised not to go into the home. They did repeatedly, and guess what? It was the time they went in that they found that supposed key with the defendant's DNA. That was in plain sight, by the way, which none of the other investigators found when they were sweeping the house.
I got to go to break, but is there such a thing as Dutch Swanson is suggesting, like the FBI or some federal? Is there somebody other than the special prosecutor that could come in 10 years after the fact and look at everything again?
There always is someone that can overlook it and see, but I don't think it's going to happen in this case.
Netflix.
It's just too far gone.
Yeah, good. Documentarians. These are the legal experts. They're the mental health experts. What are the limits to the length you guys will go to cast reasonable doubt? How many people will you pull into the web of guilt? Your own brothers, law enforcement.
You as a defense
attorney. So there's no limit to who others' lives you will affect with that guy's behavior?
Well, look at it this way. I mean, that is your ethical duty as a defense lawyer.
Well, that's what I'm talking about is ethics, Anahita. What's the ethics? And would you not agree that this evidence, would have been relevant about the brothers? If you were a juror in that case, would you not want to know that his own two brothers both had a history of sexual assault? Yes or no, Dr. Drew? If I were the guilty party ready to pull my brothers in, no, I would not want my...
Yeah, but the brothers, but Anahita, the brothers, that was 3 months before the murder. This guy, Stephen, was contacting the victim the day of the murder. 3 times, faking his ID.
The jury should be able to consider this information, Dr. Drew, and you really have to question, why did the judge exclude this evidence? This is relevant evidence, and as a defense attorney, we do this all the time. You are entitled to be able to raise reasonable doubt.
And also, no, but that's their job as a defense. But
the press these days, but Anahita has just on the record told us that her job is to confuse us.
That's right.
And then the documentarians, take the counselor's information and put that out as a dispassionate sort of evaluation of the facts that you were presenting intentionally to cloud and confuse the mind of the jurors. Well, that's your job. You said it.
Yeah, the reality is there is reasonable doubt in confusion. There is, and that, as a defense attorney, your ethical obligation is to
you fulfilled it, and so did these defense attorneys, and then these documentarians present that as factual.
As a journalist, my job is to get the facts.
Thank you.
Deal with the
All the
evidence.
facts,
Put it out
Dr.
there.
Drew, I have a question for you. You think he's guilty, correct?
Yes.
But would you not agree that even if you believe he did it, he should have been acquitted because there was a ton of reasonable doubt in this case?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, that's the question that gets everybody upset. So when I say I think the guy's guilty, everyone gets angry with me. I don't know whether he should be acquitted or not. Maybe he should. Maybe this is hang on. Maybe this is a massive failure of the system, in which case I suppose he should. But then why didn't that come out in appeals? Have you seen his appeal documents? There's like 19 appeals.
Well, we saw what was going on with the case. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but the judge was making certain rulings that were really surprising to me. You saw the attorney for Brendan, the young nephew, which we'll get into later.
Yes.
So who knows? But I mean, if you look at the prosecutor's own statement at trial, where he said to the jury, even if the police planted this evidence, ladies and gentlemen, you should still convict the defendant. That's built-in reasonable doubt right there. They should have acquitted him based on that statement alone.
The audience is reacting. That's in
If you're following the law.
That's in fact the argument he made. But of course, that's his ethical responsibility, right, to make an argument that fits his case.
But that gives rise to reasonable doubt. And if those jurors have reasonable doubt, they have to acquit the defendant.
And there was some crazy horse trading in the jury, what do you call it?
Which we talked about that during deliberation.
The deliberation room, yeah. All right, next up,
My blood boil what happened to this nephew. As an attorney, I can't stand watching this because it's clear. I mean, he's 16 years old. He has a very low IQ. I think after 2 sentences that he said, it's clear he doesn't understand what he's saying, what he's doing there. Like Rolanda said, he's like, oh, are we going to be done soon? I have to go to class.
I have a project.
And so,
and the two men interrogating him are prosecutors. One of them that was supposedly had it out for him. There were 2 independent prosecutors.
There was more than one interrogation.
Well, I'm going to show you the first one that his own attorney.
Coerced confession I've seen in my career.
This is by his own attorney.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's look at that. He's being interrogated by an investigator hired by his own defense team. Terrible, Anahita, when you see that picture.
Yeah, and if you understand that it was his own defense attorney that sent him to this private investigator, and he once again was coerced. He was told what to say, what to draw. That is absolutely unheard of. And you know I don't like to second guess other attorneys. I don't. But you really have to ask yourself, what was this attorney thinking? This kid kept saying, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't say that. And then to add insult to injury, his defense attorney calls the detectives after this interview, after this interrogation.
That particular one.
That particular one, and says, by the way, detectives, you might want to interview my client once again. And they go ahead and do that on a Saturday, and his attorney does not even show up.
That's 3 times.
That interrogation.
3 times he doesn't show up for that kid.
That's grounds for disbarment, Dr. Drew. That is grounds for disbarment.
And here, I think, again, the bigger picture that how much is this happening in our judicial system?
More often than you know. That is such a great point. And I think one thing that we can take away from this, Dr. Drew, is that this does happen. We don't have a perfect system. We have one of the best systems in the world, but it's not perfect. And these things happen. We see this happen a lot of times.
So we're learning, have a bunch of money so you can hire a good defense attorney like Anahita.
Like me,
Two, stay out of trouble in Wisconsin. And they just keep going until he says yes.
He has no lawyer there. He has no attorney there. That is the most egregious thing I've ever seen.
And then again,
they admitted that. Sorry, they admitted that into evidence.
And she's upset about the failure of the legal system. We're upset about the failure of the mental health system.
Right. At what point does that investigator say, maybe this kid is not understanding what's going on? Maybe we need to get an evaluation. At what point does he not see that, Dr. Drew?
His constitutional rights were just
We were talking about the laser have had issues, have died at the hands of police just because they haven't understood what they're dealing with.
I don't think it takes any special training to see that kid had absolutely no idea what he was saying, he didn't even know where he was. I don't think it takes any special training, Dr. Drew.
But that's why his attorney should have been there.
Hang on, let me just show you this last little piece.
Exactly. Even then, though, you just don't know. Like she mentioned, the attorney. Was the little boy's attorney, Brendan's attorney, really working for him?
No.
Can you imagine? I think even any person here that has no legal training can tell you that you do not allow a client to speak with the authorities alone without an attorney present. That's like knowledge 101.
We'll be right back. Like many murderers in prison, they find... what should we describe?
Like Charles Manson, who had more marriage proposals than I did while he was in prison, Dr. Drew?
That's right. And that's a certain type of person that's interested in somebody who's incarcerated, that they believe they have a special insight and special relationship.
She knows where he is.
That's
A lot of it is
Any insight into somebody that would be preoccupied thusly?
You know, for some people, there's something strangely attractive about somebody who's in that type of position. Maybe it's a rescuer. Maybe it's somebody who feels that they can change the person that they're attracted to. Maybe there's a draw because of their own history. But yes, no, it's very strange. They have definitely received more marriage proposals than you have.
Oh, thanks a lot. You didn't have to agree with that.
I believe Twitter what's your Twitter handle, Anahita?
Anahita Sedaghatfar.
Go ahead and send the marriage proposals through there on Twitter. Sandy, then this woman here we're looking at told it's correct, absolutely correct, and that's what when Anahita asked me that one question, that's what it was at issue there. But the reality is, he was found to be guilty.
Right.
So.
But he's found to be guilty based upon what I perceive to be a very flawed trial, a very flawed investigation. You know, like I said before, if you even take the prosecution's own words to those jurors, that is built-in reasonable doubt. And if those jurors followed the law, they had to have acquitted him, Dr.
So let's. So you're saying the system is flawed, and I get it. I get what you're saying, and we're all troubled by what we've seen in a document.
It's hard to say.
You see? Just leave it there. I'll let you leave it there. And David, guilty or not? Gut.
I don't think. Listen,
CNN Primetime